Today I'm looking to resupply my stock of tinder, like dry grass and birch bark. I like to have a bunch at the tipi, so whenever I have when I need tinder, I have it. So I always carry this foldable bag. Anyway, this is just a cheap nylon bag, or made of polyester, but it's portable, which is great. So I always carry it with me. Have a little pouch, can fold it into it, and this is good for all sorts of things: gathering food, tinder, you name it. So all of this is wet. I'm going to fill this bag up, and once I get to the tipi, I'm going to transfer it to a mesh bag, like a laundry bag, full of holes. It's like a mesh, and that lets air in, like the warm air of the stove, and it dries overnight pretty much. Then I have a nice stock of tinder. My bag's almost full. I'm gonna go to the next location. One of the coolest things about this time of the year is that you can track. It's a lot easier to track animals. These are deer tracks. I don't know, I just love it. It's a lot of fun. It'd be cool if I could show you guys one. I see them often. The problem is that I never have the camera turned on time. So here we have the deer tracks, and they are leading to that hole over there. Now that is the deer with its paws getting rid of the snow and trying to get to this undergrowth. A bit of moss, a bit of roots. It's fun to see the stories that happen here in the woods, and the snow really helps you to read them. I think further ahead we have another spot that has been excavated for food, also by deer. Here are the footprints again. And there you go. That's the deer trying to get some grass, some moss, anything to eat. You can really see that the deer is getting desperate to find food. There's another two spots that they'd be looking for food. There's some more deer poop, and I'm gonna use some of that to make pine pitch glue. It looks very close to rabbit poop, but it's not. It's more like pellet-like instead of little spheres. You can tell he hasn't been eating a lot. And this is what they're munching on. That's all they get now. Two more holes over there looking for food. Another one here. See, they're even chewing on bark, on roots, as you can see right there. This deer's hungry, dude. And the moose, they're a little bit taller so they can get up to get lichen off the ground. But they're probably hungry too. Where's that guy going? Huh? You smelling the visitors? Here are the tracks again. Pretty much going towards the tipi. Now that I arrived at camp, I usually transfer all the grass that I just collected, which will be my tinder, into a mesh bag like this one, which is made actually for putting your clothes in the laundry in a washing machine. But the reason why I use this is because of all these little pores. It lets all the moisture out, and it's a lot easier to dry things in this, be it clothes or grass. And I hang this from inside the tipi next to the stove, not closed obviously, otherwise it will melt. But it's a perfect solution. In less than an hour with the stove on, all this grass will be dry and ready to use for fires. I don't know if you can tell or not, but right now this is absolutely soaked. I think you can see it. Yeah, there's even snow here, right? But because of the pores, all the heat goes in, the humidity goes out. You just have to make sure that all of this is pretty loose. And then you can use this for insulation inside your shoes, to start a fire, to put underneath your butt, you know, if you want to sit down outside underneath some spruce boughs, you can put this on top or underneath. I mean, it's basically insulation, and it's good for you too, right, Petrus? You like this in your bed, huh? Keeps you warm when you decide to stay here with me when it's not so cold, right? And there we have it. You want to go in here also? So what I do now is I take this inside the tipi and hang it. That's what an hour of snow looks like. No problem. We have Joey the mop. Joey the mop is an awesome helper. So once I'm done with the bag, I turn it inside out, get this wet part outside like so, and then I just stuff it in my pocket. These trousers are so good that they let all the moisture out, and my body heat will dry this bag within an hour, not even. So I always carry this bag with me, it's super handy. The next step is to hang our bag with the wet grass on it, and then it takes about an hour or two, maybe a little longer, and then we have dry tinder. Once inside the tipi, and once I turn on the stove, I will hang all of this over here. There's a little loop right here. Pull this up like that. And there, now this is ready for drying. You know, just have to be careful that you don't let this touch the pipe, because it will instantly catch fire. But you see this here, this is to adjust the flaps at the top. What I do is just put it like so, like this. And all the heat from what's around in the tipi will go through here and dry this in no time. So that's how I dry my tinder. So I'm going to show you my sharpening kit. For the axe, I have a Grand's Force Brook, a grinding stone. This is what I usually use for the axes. Usually I only use the fine side, and the fine side is about 600 grit, and the coarse side is about 180. Anyway, this is for axes, but you can sharpen your knives also with it in the field if you have to, but this usually stays here in the tipi. And my sharpening kit usually is this, where I can put this on my backpack. This is a product from, I think, Lansky, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a kind of a rubber to remove rust. Or actually, it's made actually to clean files from debris, but it's perfect to remove any type of rust also. It's about this big usually, but I cut it in half, and I cut it in an edge like so. So this part here becomes a sharp edge where I can get to places that are hard to get to. So we have this to erase rust. I also always have with me some sandpaper in the tipi. I don't carry outside, but here I have sandpaper also, so let's put that there. What else I have here? I have a file. This is a diamond file, also from Grand's Force Brook, and whoops, comes with a little leather sheet. This is the fine side, and this is the coarse side. I don't really remember the grit right now, but I tell you one thing, this can remove any nick from an axe, no problem. It looks pretty innocent and tiny, as you can see, but it's pure evil when it comes to removing metal. So you have to be really careful with this. I always have a little piece of a cloth on my sharpening kit. A stroke that I made with a little piece of wood, and then I just glued a piece of leather here. It's part of the kit also. Then I have a couple of Lansky stones, and this is a sapphire stone. It's about, I think the grit is about 2000 if I'm not mistaken. I have a fine stone of 600, which is not really fine actually. I'd say medium. And an ultra fine stone of 1000. So I'll go like this: 600, 1000, 2000. I have a toothbrush just to clean debris. That's part of the kit also. And that's it. A little pouch that goes with it. Well, that's actually the sharpening kit, but you know, to clean up and maintain stuff, I have a couple of other products here. A bit of steel wool for the stubborn, well, usually the sandpaper does the job, but sometimes I use steel wool to remove rust. I have some mineral oil. This is from the Japanese swords, the same oil that they use. Very good. I also have linseed oil. That's for the wood that I, you know, to maintain the axe handles. Sometimes if I don't have this mineral oil, I'll use olive oil, no problem, which is right here. That will do the trick also, but since this is a permanent camp, I brought the whole thing. And sometimes, especially for my axe, my chopping axe, that gets a lot of abuse, I use a metal glue. It really protects it from oxidation. And that axe, sometimes, you know, I forget it outside, and it just gets a lot of abuse. And sometimes the oil it's not enough. So, you know, sometimes I use this also, but not very often. I definitely do not use any of this stuff on my knives or anything like that, because I need to eat with them and I cut food with it, and you don't want to put this crap on it. It's really bad for you. I have also a portable stone on my knife rig, and I have a strobe. I don't usually use the stone at all. All I need to do, if my knife is well sharpened, all I need to do is just strobe it. If I use this leather strobe, it becomes razor sharp instantly, most of the time. So that's part of my mobile kit. And I have a DC4 stone with a ceramic side and a diamond side, which I barely ever use, to be honest with you. I have neglected this knife for the past week, and I've used it a lot, and I don't know if you can see it, but here, if I'm putting it against the light, we can see that there's quite a dull edge here. And the way you see that is if the light reflects on it, it'll shine. And I can see a couple of spots here. The ultimate test. You can see that it's not really removing any hair. It's dull. Let's put it like that. Not super dull, but it's dull. Too dull for my taste. So the way I do it, and the way I like it, is I keep an eye on the edge, holding the knife like so. And because it's a Scandi grind, it's very easy to maintain the angle. And I'll just pass it like so. Couple of passes. You can do slow circular motions like this also. When I actually do this movement of sharpening, like in circles, I don't go like this with my arms stretched. I lock my arms like so, and that helps me keep the knife in one angle without movement. Nice and steady. Again, I know some people are not gonna like this way of doing things, but you know what? It's my way of doing it, and it works for me, so. $13, $14, $15, $16. So now the same thing on this side. Now I will clean the blade once again, being very careful not to cut myself, because this should be pretty close to deadly sharp by now. I know that some of you don't believe it because of this weird way of sharpening. If you don't do the way everybody does it, you're wrong. Not always, man, not always, you know. Not saying I'm special, just saying this is the way I do it. And don't forget, I also do it the common way with a flat stone, like so. Yeah, I do that, but I usually do that at home. I like to practice this way because what I like about this way is that I can actually sharpen my knife standing up in the middle of a forest. I don't need to sit down, I don't need to find a base to put my stones. I can just stand up, pick up some stones and sharpen it, and it's ready to go. Okay, the final stage of the sharpening process here is to use my strobe. I don't put any compound whatsoever. I just do it dry like so. Lifting up the blade as it goes towards the end, the tip I mean. And then I do about anything from 50 to 100 passes on it. And again, I'm going to cut this part short because there's no point for you to watch me doing this forever and ever. But it's one of the most important parts because it gets rid of the burr, which is the tiny little bits of metal, for those that don't know, that accumulate right at the edge. Microscopic, I mean tiny little pieces. And this helps to remove them. Now I'm going to just clean the blade a little bit and apply a little bit of oil to the blade. And I usually do the handle too. You can use the same oil if you like. I usually prefer the linseed oil for the handle, but that's my preference. You can use whatever you want. Anyway, not a lot of oil, just a little bit. Okay, my friends, so this is how I sharpen my knife. And now the final test. You can use a piece of paper to see if it's sharp. Or my favorite test is, does it shave? If it doesn't shave, then my method failed. If it shaves, it means that the way I sharpen my knife works. So let's see, let's get rid of all of this. First the tip, without any force. Seems to be working. And now the full blade. Well, what do you think? Well, in my book at least, I'd say that this is sharp enough. More than this is just ridiculous. So again, everybody has their own way. This is my way, and what matters to me in the end of the day is, does it work? And as you can see, it does. All of this is dried up. Bone dry. It already sounds dry if you hear it quietly enough. It doesn't sound soggy at all. Sounds like a rattle. Good, nice fire going. Ventilation's open. My socks are dried. Now it's time to read a little. Just relax and read. Meditate on what to paint tomorrow. It's about 1 a.m. I still can't sleep. I've been reading a lot of, 2 different books. And right now I got the munchies. You know how it is, you know. Sometimes in the middle of the night you get the munchies and you can't sleep. So the one thing that I always love, especially when I'm reading and chilling out by a warm stove, is popcorn. Okay, the next step is to put the cover or the lid on and on top of the stove. All we have to do now is to wait for the beautiful pop of the popcorn. Pop, pop, pop. And then yes, we got midnight munchies going on. Okay, let's see what we got. Burnt popcorn? No, it looks good. Alright. Yum, yum, yum. But that's good. Pretty amazing. Nothing like it being in a tipi with minus 10 Celsius outside and some really hot popcorn in your belly. Beautiful.